Today, we're going to discuss the much-needed and important opinion of Jessica Thurlow. She threw out something new on air on The Five, and let's take a look at it together and figure it out.
Jessica, Republicans have been obviously hammering the president for not going to the border, So now he went to the border, right? They are critical of the sector he decided to visit. They say that he brought up the wrong things in his speech yesterday, climate change. He left out the wrong things, Laken Riley. Is there anything he could have done to avoid some of that criticism, or the books were cooked?
I'm getting a message from the Republican Oracle. He should resign. But you obviously missed the show yesterday when, I forgive you though,
No, I watch the show every night. I don't know what you're talking about.
Where I said, there is nothing President Biden could do that would appease the Republicans. It's impossible. It has to do with election season. It also has to do with blind hatred for the man and that it destroys their narrative if he does anything that's even remotely a gesture towards their priorities, like a big bipartisan border deal, which Donald Trump told our own Laura Ingraham, of course I'm not going to support that. It helps the other guy. Jesse's right that there are a bunch of people for whom immigration is their number one issue, but they all identify as Republicans. The latest Quinnipiac poll, for instance, has the number one issue for Democrats as preserving democracy, something that Joe Biden talks about a lot and obviously has a great case against Donald Trump
when
for.
They talk about it.
What are you talking about? Is the migration issue only a Republican issue? You do realize you just buried yourself. You're spitting on the majority opinion and their problem. I think Jessica is going to have a huge problem with that statement because she added to the Democrats and their essence in general.
Americans. In the latest Gallup poll, all Americans identify immigration.
Did you look
as
at the
top
breakdown
issue.
of who? No.
I'm talking about Americans, Jessica.
Oh, we're not red and blue?
No, there's some Democrats that also care about immigration.
Yes, but ranking it as the number one issue and saying this is going to define the election has failed for Republicans repeatedly. 2018, the caravan
2016, Trump won on immigration.
Like an obedient dog, she nods her head when told she's wrong. It's stupid of her to talk about a problem like that. I think she should have just kept her mouth shut as usual and not said anything at all. That would have been the best solution she could think of.
I'm talking about 2018 and 2020 when we had these caravans, right? You remember? And then, right, they stopped because also it was an illusion that we were having a mass invasion and people didn't like that kind of language. That doesn't mean that it isn't affecting liberal cities now. This Operation Lone Star, which is what Governor Abbott has done in terms of shipping migrants, has obviously made an impact. But we are not relying on the FBI data about migrant crime to say that areas that have gotten the most migrants from Operation Lone Star have lower crime rates. We have city data. And that's what NBC News did a big investigation into that and found that to be the case. So yes, Laken Riley, it's a terrible tragedy, but it doesn't mean that these are all bad hombres that are coming across. I mean, he says that they're poisoning the country.
Just imagine. Jessica claims that potential terrorists who sneak into our country illegally pose no threat. They won't rob homes and beat up police officers. They won't rob ordinary women. What is she talking about? Why doesn't this woman get gagged and taken away?
Also, it seems like it needs to start in the home, and maybe if you get a $10,000 check from the local government, you shouldn't spend it on a $6,000 trip in Miami. Maybe you should use that money for a college fund or something else like that.
Or 6 months rent.
Right.
Totally. And to that point, there was actually a study out of Vancouver, something called the New Leaf Project, which is a charitable organization. So they found a group of 115 homeless people that were identified by local shelters. You had to be homeless for less than 2 years, so people newer to the system. They gave each of them $7,500, and they also had a group that got coaching and workshops, but without the money. So everyone gets the advice on how to get a job, how to dress for success, you know, et cetera. And the group that got the coaching and the money all spent the money in ways that you would deem appropriate, on food, on rent. And then it ended up actually that they were able to find secure housing and saving the organization nearly $1,000 per annum because of that. So that is the combination and how this can work. I'm sure Rashida Tlaib will flesh out the proposal more, but we have seen success in Vancouver of giving away, quote, free money, but working to get people back on
With
their
training.
feet.
In this fragment, Jessica subtly hints that we should distribute money to migrants and train them on how to use money properly and how to find jobs. In other words, she does not want to help our population and make sure that our people do not feel poverty, are confident in their future, and can simply fulfill their dreams. This is very ridiculous on her part, and I completely condemn it. What do you think about it? Write your opinion in the comments, and don't forget to watch other shocking news on the channel.